Hello guys, I'm CBMF Productions. So with the Halloween season upon us, similar to The Exorcist 3, I want to discuss a couple of underrated horror films that I suggest you guys watch over the holiday. And I want to discuss one of my favorite horror films that has come out recently, and one that doesn't get as much recognition as it deserves. And that film is Luca Guadagnino's 2018 version of Suspiria. The film is a readaptation of the iconic horror film from 1977 by Dario Argento. The original Suspiria is one of the most visually striking horror films I've ever seen. You can tell that this wasn't made by an American director because of the film handles violence, set design, the shot composition, Goblin's iconic score, the acting, and how horror is shown through different eyes. It's a brilliant horror film, although it will not be for everyone today, and definitely does have its outdated moments here and there. It's still a film that mostly holds up nearly 43 years later. But like most iconic horror films, there was bound to be a remake at some point, but this film came out long after the whole remake craze that happened around the mid to late 2000s, which is a little bit strange. The film was in development for about a decade before the film came out after Guadagnino back in 2008 secured the rights from the original writers, and even offered the film to David Gordon Green, the guy who would go on to direct Halloween from 2018. But after some financial disputes, he decided to drop out. Then Guadagnino took up the director's chair and shot the film around late 2016, early 2017, and after the film wrapped up production, the film premiered at the Venice Film Festival in late 2018, and was met with polarizing responses from both critics and audiences alike. But it really wasn't a big splash overall. But the film dropped in limited release in late 2018. The film only made $7.7 million back on its $20 million budget, along with the film being seen from basically every single major award show when it came out. And the film has been kind of forgotten about over the past couple of years. And I want to talk about this film because I absolutely love it. The film was set in 1977 where our main character Susie, played by Dakota Johnson, an American ballet dancer traveling abroad to a world-renowned dance school in Berlin. When she meets the head teacher Madame Blanc, played by Tilda Swinton, one of the 3 roles that she plays in the film, she starts to get high in this dance school to where she becomes the head dancer for this very important performance, Volk. But things start to go awry with the other dancers at the school, as something suspicious lies underneath this whole situation. Suspiria is a marvel on all accounts. The first thing it does great is that it's completely different from the original film, and I wouldn't be surprised if people today would not think it's a remake, which are some of the best qualities for the best horror remakes that are out there. The film is visually striking and does a good job of being the complete opposite of the cinematography in the original, where that was a very colorful and bright film. This is a very bleak and damp film, adding to the cold and isolation that this dance school puts onto the characters and you as a viewer. The film draws you into seemingly normal dance school, but the atmosphere always keeps you on edge, to where even scenes of the woman just eating in the restaurant, you always know that something isn't right. And it doesn't make the film boring or slow in the slightest, despite the film being 2.5 hours long. The direction is so from Guadagnino, for him is able to make the film almost feel like a documentary, which how you as a viewer are like a fly on the wall, with how personal and real a lot of the dialogue feels, along with how close he's able to focus the camera on these actresses, and none of them break for a split second. Everyone in the film is fantastic acting wise. Dakota Johnson has really done a good job over the years of breaking away from that 50 Shades trilogy, and this for me is her best performance. Tilda Swinton is great as always from doing something different from every single film that she's in, and this film is by far no exception. Mia Goth is great as Dakota Johnson's friend who introduces us to this entire world of the dance school, and being able to flesh it out, and even the small roles like Chloe Grace Moretz are all great. The writing is also fantastic, being able to give all these characters personalities and backgrounds, and being able to fully round out these characters, to where when shit starts hitting the fan and people start dropping, you really do care about what's going on. The film also works very well as a drama, which Guadagnino has plenty of experience with, but mixing it with horror makes the film even better. The horror scenes are absolutely mesmerizing. Not only are they completely different from the original, but they are so uncomfortable and real that all the body horror stuff they get is so unnatural and unnerves you to the core that you can't keep your eyes off the screen despite the fact you want to look away. Another thing that makes the film great is the dance choreography. Despite the original takes place at a dance school, there's very little on-screen dancing actually in the film. Guadagnino takes what wasn't in the original and amplifies it exponentially. I'm not into professional dancing, but these scenes are so intense and vigorous, especially when we get towards the end with the whole Volk sequence and especially the climax. It has to unnaturally these bodies move during these sequences that keeps you watching and makes you forget that you're watching a film because how mesmerizing these sequences are. What also elevates it all is the score from Thom Yorke, the famous Radiohead artist that took on this film as his first feature film soundtrack, and it's damn near beautiful. It's not what you would expect from a horror score. It doesn't consist of cheap high-note jump scare effects. And at the soundtrack is just consisting of Thom Yorke songs mixed in with the actual score, but it's mixed so well and fits the tone and atmosphere of the film perfectly. And I've listened to the score dozens of times, and honestly it's one of my favorite soundtracks I've heard from any film. The pacing is incredible with how well all the different acts and chapters of the film play out, and how the film establishes the tones and motivations of the villains who are terrifying, and the whole goal of what the film is trying to go for, to where when the film climaxes and comes to a close, you look at the film from a different perspective. And as soon as the film concluded, I immediately wanted to discuss the film with others and rewatch it again. The makeup is also terrific, and the violence is a great mix of practical effects and CGI, making it look and feel a lot more real than you would expect from your traditional wide-release horror film. In the last 30 minutes when the climax comes into play, it has some of the most mesmerizing, striking, and some of the most terrifying visuals I've seen from any horror film. The film has some great twists, the imagery and editing is terrifying and elevates what is going on, and just so much more that I just can't describe it in words, and you have to check out the film for yourself to really experience it. Overall, Suspiria 2018 is a fantastic film all around. I understand that people have very polarizing opinions on the film, the ones that have seen it, but for me personally, this is pretty much a near flawless film for me. As somebody who has basically seen every single genre and every single type of horror film that has ever been produced, as somebody who's mainly seen all the different genres and all the different types of horror films that come from it, from something as unique and different as this film when I see it, it's just so mesmerizing and striking and memorable that it has stuck with me for the past 2 years. I can really recite the film despite only seeing the film once, because it has such an impact on me. The film takes seemingly normal things and contorts it to such an uncomfortable degree that will make you want to look away, but you can't because of how beautiful the film is. The film is from a filmmaker with a vision. This isn't just from some Joe Blow work for hire director that just adds a bunch of cheap jump scares and obvious setups. The film is an art piece and an exploration of womanhood, pressure to be better than everyone else, sacrifice both from a mental and physical standpoint, and just so much more that I've already described previously. It's really a shame that the film isn't as talked about as people should be talking about it, and the fact that the film was just snubbed from every single award season, not a Golden Globe, not an Oscar, not a Spirit Award, that this film is one of the main examples of why I really don't take award shows seriously anymore. And for me, it does rub Hereditary as one of my favorite, if not my favorite modern horror film that's come out in the 21st century. And even if you don't like the film that much, you do have to appreciate the artistry that is on screen. It's not just some generic horror film that you can just throw away after 5 minutes. The film both has style and substance, and if you have not seen the film, I truly do encourage you for this Halloween season to check it out. The film is actually made by Amazon Studios, so the film is actually free if you're a Prime member. And trust me, if you don't love the film, it definitely has more to offer than 99% of the modern horror films that we get today. But that's just my opinion. What are your thoughts on the film if you have seen it? Leave your thoughts down in the comments, and please don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. I'm CBMF Productions, and have a happy Halloween.